Dr. Malusi Mncube, once again, thank you so much for making time. We're here for the second segment, and on this one, I want us to discuss all things elections, 29th of May. And I'm going to start with the MK party because it's been making, well, it's a new baby, it's a new player, but it has been championed by someone who we know that they have a very strong political background and history. So recently we heard that the MK party leader was supposed to, Mr. Jacob Zuma, by the way, was supposed to go for a disciplinary hearing here by Lituli House, and then it has been cancelled. What is your take on that?
First and foremost, I'd like to say greetings to all the listeners and the viewers in South Africa. I think it's about 3 weeks towards elections. It's a countdown now. So all of us, let's brace ourselves. And personally, I would like to say, I hope the black majority wins. And we bring about a structural change that will benefit all South Africans, much more particularly the black majority.
Yeah.
President Jacob Zuma, who's the president of the MK Mkhonto weSizwe party, who was supposed to, he had been summoned for a disciplinary hearing within the ANC, and they decided to postpone it. There could have been many reasons, and my response could be very speculative. Only ANC, the people who called him, know the reasons why exactly they did. But my speculative analysis that I think it was ill-timed is it's few weeks before elections. I mean, I think President Zuma would have got a preeminent airtime, preeminent media time for almost nothing, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I would have foreseen a situation where by thousands of MK supporters were going to descend at Lutuli House, and whether media liked it or not, private podcasts were going to take advantage of it. And I think it was going to be kudos for MK party for almost nothing. So they've postponed it until after elections. Probably with hindsight, they must have thought, no, this is the right thing for us to do, not to call him for disciplinary hearing now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
And interesting also view that is emerging, and this is why I am also confident that Jacob Zuma is one of the best players when it comes to politics. You know, he has a mindset that is able to understand the political landscape and come up with ways in which that are very effective to suit his agenda. Some people are now speculating somehow, even though I hardly believe that is true, that the MK is actually an ANC project. It was an ANC project from the start. That it was an ANC project that was meant to somehow, you know, save the ANC, as Jacob Zuma would always say, that I launched this thing to save the ANC. But some people are speculating, and there's a conspiracy that actually the leaders of the ANC knew from scratch that this project was going to emerge.
Okay, let me give it a sober analysis from a point of view. I would say, number one, it's speculative, but let's look at the history of President Jacob Zuma, from where he comes from. And remember, Jacob Zuma, when you look at his history, he was forced to resign because of allegedly corrupt practices by the then president Thabo Mbeki, right? So he was forced to resign. And they were, when he was moving towards to campaigning for him to become the president of South Africa, there were all types of charges that were leveled against him. So certain forces, including our own media, were against him.
Yeah.
Even certain forces within the ANC. Yeah, I'm not speculating, right? We remember the rape charges, anything they could put together so that he does not become
the nuclear deal.
He doesn't. The nuclear deal, he does not become the president. That was a fact. So by the time he won at Polokwane 2007, hands down, and he became the president of the country, there were forces who did not love that. Not only forces of white monopoly capital, but even within ANC, right? Because immediately when that happened, and here, now my analysis, I would like to climb on the back of President Julius Malema of EFF. I heard him in one of the podcasts where he spoke very clearly when he was castigating President Thabo Mbeki for flip-flopping.
Yeah.
He's saying, how dare Thabo Mbeki point a finger at Zuma for forming? This is not speculation. This is what we hear at podcasts. I heard him. How dare he point a finger at Zuma when I know very well, that is President Malema, when I know very well that Thabo Mbeki was the one. He is the architect of apartheid. When the Mlambo Mncugas, when Sam Shiloas and everybody else moved into COPE, we know very well that Mbeki was the one who masterminded. So there is the who masterminded COPE. So there is nothing new that Zuma is doing in terms of forming Konto Sizwe party. Besides, what's different with Zuma? He's coming out clearly, whereas with Mbeki, he was hiding behind the back, and we know that it was him. There's a difference. But again, Mbeki is flip-flopping on his word, because he had said he's not campaigning for ANC because in some branches he knows there's criminal elements. So President Malema was saying what has changed, because policy stance of the ANC hasn't changed and all that. Now he's going
Still
to
the same.
Yeah, it's still the same. So why is he campaigning? And Malema used the word. He says this has got nothing to do with principle, but it has to do everything to do with factionalism. So yes, he used the words. It's in the podcast. He used the word factionalism. So he pointed that Mbeki is being factional. It's got nothing to do with the principal policy and stance. Now, what makes me sad as an African and as a South African, what makes me sad is that I would expect the veterans of South African struggle, whether it's Mbeki, Halima, Zuma, and all of that, especially given their seniority of age, because they're exiting. You know, nature is calling them towards all of them. It calls all of us, but more so them because of their age. Nature is calling them to their graves. They must leave a much more solidified, united black front, because they know the majority of black people have not enjoyed the economic fruits of independence of South Africa. They know that very well. Instead of leaving a united black front, right, they are leaving a factionalized, a disunited front. And that is very sad, coming from people who contributed all their lives in the liberation struggle, and they still have that factionalism within them, and they are not able even to teach the youngsters who are going to take over to build bridges, to close ranks, to make sure that the black body benefits, the black body gets to inherit the commanding heights of the economy. For me, I find that very disappointing. They are not able to go beyond as far as their nose can go in terms of factionalism. I find that very disappointing.
Wow. Let's talk about the EFF versus the DA, because this is like water and oil, you know, where we understand, of course, that the DA has made it clear in their Moonshot Pact, well, now they call it multi-party charter, I think, where they say that the EFF is not welcomed. They are not in any way interested in partnering or being in a coalition government with the EFF, and we see those two parties as one of the top three political parties in South Africa. Well, we don't know how the MK is going to perform, but so far that's how we're sitting. And that raises a question of, do you think then, because there's a conspiracy also that the DA can't wait to get into a coalition with the ANC as well as the EFF, so they are all aiming for the ANC. While everybody wants the ANC to go below 50%, the two parties are actually saying when election results come, we're willing to actually partner with this party because they know they will have more leverage. What is your view on the role of the EFF and the DA in this emerging and growing coalition government that we are seeing in this country?
For me, from the days of Tony Leon right up to now, truly speaking, I've never had confidence in the politics of the DNA, of the DA.
Yeah.
I've seen them as basically it's a carryover of the apartheid ruling class, the privileged, the white privilege and all that. And in so many ways, that's why even certain black people who try to master leadership within them, one way or another, situations have been created where they've been sidestepped and all that. Many have hopefully tried to say black people were going to make a mark within DNA, within DA,
yeah.
but I knew it wouldn't be. They serve white interests, and I, for one, personally, I stand that black parties must have confidence in themselves. DA is not there to serve the interests of the black majority. They are not there to serve those interests. So I see a situation whereby EFF, ANC, EFF, and MK, AZAPO, and PSC, if they can get together quite formidably and form a bulwark and put pressure on white monopoly capital in South Africa and globally and bring about change. I mean, these things are very possible. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso right now. The junta is bringing about changes. They are not in what you call in coalition with anybody else, and there's threats from the imperialists, but they are doing it all the same, because sometimes you just have to walk that tightrope. So I don't really believe in politics personally of coalition, because it has nothing more to do with structural change to benefit the black majority than only to maintain interest, especially now when you bring in the DA there. So rather, what I'm comfortable with personally myself strongly is MK, EFF, ANC, AZAPO, and PAC. But even having that, the young majority in all of these parties, right, they mustn't let those within who already had led our South African politics, let them take the lead. The youngsters, on a daily basis, not every 3 months, on a daily basis, they must become the voice of the changes they want to see. They must not be intimidated. They must question every budget process. All those youngsters, they must see themselves at National Treasury. They must see themselves at the Reserve Bank. They must see themselves at Development Bank of Southern Africa. They must see themselves at Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, and all development finance institutions. Every institution that counts, they must see themselves. Gone are those times. Look at the radicalism of imperialism, what they do, because they teach you about human rights. But look at how people are being massacred in the DRC, in Sudan, in Gaza, everywhere. And these are the same people who want to preach human rights, who want to preach free market forces. That doesn't happen. They do not practice that. They practice monstrosities. They practice defilement of what human beings are, and as long as it serves their purpose. So the youngsters, when that black majority parties, when they come together, the youngsters must not sleep. They must bring a new type of politics. And I cannot expect the DNA to be part of that politics. I mean, they don't even come into my equation at all. They don't.
Yeah, the DA has been accused of being racist as well. One of the things that comes to mind right now as we're speaking about the DA is the colors of their logo. You know, people have always said that they consist of all South African flag colors except black. You know, and that is a symbol as well that they don't stand for black people.
Well, why are people surprised? DA comes from the architects of apartheid. Apartheid was a constitutionalized system.
Yeah.
It was not an accident. It was constitutionalized. Jim Crow laws in the United States were constitutionalized. Racism all over the world, all over Africa, colonialism in Africa as an enterprise was constitutionalized. These are people who sat in parliament and brought about a codification of racism, of saying a black man is nothing. They are, and they call the shots. They will tell you what to do in your own land. So for DA, whether they have our color or not, what do you expect? Personally, I don't even look at that. I would love black people to be just very radical on their own. They know what to do. This is their land, and they need to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
So whether DA is this color or not, for me, it's none of my business. I don't care. What black majority must care about is to get every lever of power in South Africa and move ahead towards the unification of Africa. That's what I care about.
Yeah, let's jump into some predictions. Obviously, the case of the MK party, I think it's we're still gonna hear from the Constitutional Court.
Absolutely, yeah.
What they're gonna decide on. I know Zuma and the party, they have also launched another case on top of that to say some of the judges need to, recuse themselves from the case. But we'll see. What I'm trying to come to is let's jump into some predictions. How do you see these elections unfolding in terms of like the numbers and the hierarchy of the numbers nationally as we are heading to the 29th of May?
Okay. In hindsight, there's certain you can bet. Let's start first with the ruling party, the ANC.
The ANC.
Right. Let's start with them first. Now, if you go with hindsight, ANC has been steadily losing support, and in so many
they've been declining.
Videos, yes, they actually agreed to that we are definitely losing support because of a whole lot of things. So it's not just my analysis. Let's go with what they say. They've agreed, right? But now let's also look at past elections. Be they whether those elections were municipal elections, were provincial elections, metropolitan elections, and all that. We know how ANC lost Tshwane and Johannesburg, what you call area, the Joburg metropolitan area, how they lost those elections. So all those things cumulatively, they are a dent on the capability and on the enjoyment and how ANC used to enjoy unthwarted support. It has declined. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm going back into secondary data that is already there. Secondary historical data that is there. So, and people many times have put across that how they are so unhappy with what ANC is doing. And even ANC themselves, they are not happy with what is happening to them. For them to be able to galvanize enough support for them to win a 50 plus, even they themselves know it's not something definitive. It might not happen. And it's, for me, I think it's sad for the ANC to have reached such a point. So what am I saying? ANC might not get the 50+%.
What are the chances?
They might get 48%. Nobody knows. Even the polls, remember the polls can't tell you everything. Polls just give you an indication, because the sampling in the polls you use, the sampling, it's a sample. It's not, you're not taking the whole body population of everybody, right? You're not taking you're just taking a sample just to have an indication. So samples, some of the samples I've looked at, they're saying ANC is not going to make the 50%, right? Others feel they will, but others are saying, no, there's no way ANC is going to have 50% plus. They're not going to. Yes, 48, 49, but 50, they're not going to make it. Yeah, with other players that are there, right? So what I'm saying, no one knows definitively because these are polls. But whatever happens, ANC itself now is no more like in 94 and the following election where they could definitively say, we are going to get more than 55%. That confidence, even amongst them, is no more there. That confidence, it's not there. If they get it, they get it.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle. if ANC gets, let's say, 51%, and they know it, it's a miracle, right? Because it's going to be highly charged. Everybody's going to be looking at the numbers and how the numbers are being counted and how they're being aggregated, how the numbers are being put together and all that. Every party is going to be their party agents and all that. They're going to be looking at that thoroughly, from your MK, your EFF, your every other party, DA, whatever. So, and anybody who's not going to be happy fundamentally about their numbers, they are going to take them to IEC. And IEC, so far, even with the MK issues and all that, they've been found that they are not wanting. You know, I mean, EFF has spoken about that. They're happy with the work of the IEC and all that. So even with these elections, IEC cannot be found. Its behavior, I don't think they want that on their mark. They cannot be found to be questionable. To say, no, you favored this side. So even it means, even the coming out process of their numbers and everything, and even if there's a problem when it's picked out, I think as they've done it in the past, IEC has to maintain the same professionalism, attention to detail in terms of the whole processes of the elections and the aggregation of numbers and the turnaround time in terms of looking into complaints. So this is one great thing they have in their resume, and I think IEC will want to guard that jealously. Yeah, because it's a totally aggressively transparent election, and its processes is going to be open in that. So I don't think IEC can afford, because everybody's going to be watching them 360 degrees 24/7 in that sense. So ANC, I cannot say, even myself, definitively they will get a 50%. Even them themselves, they cannot say, right? If they get it, they get it. But most likely, it will be maybe around 47%, 48, 49 there. And they will need to go into a coalition with probably with EFF and what you call with
other parties.
Yeah. I don't know now, ANC wanting to go into a coalition with DA, given its history as a liberation struggle.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, I'm giving now my personal view, it's a mark of desperation. I don't see DA as a party that will change for the black majority. You see, for me and my history, where people can say whatever they like, even now they have the monies and all that. Whenever you have black and white issues, there's always tension, because black people and white people share a history and share a painful history. That's why even up to today,
which we're struggling to rectify.
yes,
or to
even up
balance.
to today, we do have global racism. I think a few months ago, they were trying to adopt racism as a part of a codification within the United Nations, and all they
What
were
does that mean?
They were trying to put it as a law that to say racism, it's illegal and all that. And countries like America, Germany refused and all that, just to show you that racism is alive and all that. So anybody, according to me, anybody who will start to say, because now they're in the monies and say, no, certain people are too sensitive, there is serious things happened between black people and white people, and there is that tension, that historical tension is there, and it still continues, because South Africa is a neo-colonial state. It's not owned by its black majority. It's not. Hence, people like EFF and MK and Azapo are fighting. It's a neo-colonial state owned by white monopoly capital, right? We can see, all of us can see what's happening in the DRC, and we know which multinational corporations are taking all those minerals. We all know what's happening in Sudan. We all know what's happening in Gaza. All that is racism. You are not of our culture. We've had leaders like Mncube saying certain people, because they're of a certain color, they don't want to reform the United Nations. That's why Africa is not in the United Nations Security Council. We are not there. All racism. So anybody, any black person or black leader, because they've managed to make billions of dollars, they've been given those billions of dollars, they're very disingenuous. There is that tension, and that tension is getting worse globally. That's why we have the situation that we have. So for me, ANC, yes, can do what it wants. It is ANC. But for me, for ANC to go into a coalition with the DA, it's not something for me, tactfully and otherwise, that is
Yeah.
pleasing, because I don't think in any way tactfully how does it change the life of the black body who are in the squatter camps right now, who the youth of 60%, they are not working. How is it going to change that? Structurally, if you look so at structurally the way white people live in South Africa, structurally, it's way ahead above the black people. And it's not going to change just because ANC has a what you call an alliance with the DA.
The DA has been the second largest party in South Africa, well, winning the votes, obviously, as the second largest party. Do you think with EFF's growth in the last 10 years and the emergence of MK party, do you think we might see a different second largest party beside the DA? Do you see the DA being overthrown as the second largest party?
Personally, I think so, and I think one of the reasons why DA became the second largest party, it has also to do with the colored vote in the Western Cape. I've been following and I've noticed a whole lot of young...
In the Western Cape?
Yes.
This is the same province that they claim that they are really governing properly there.
Yes, that's the province they claim. I think this is one of the provinces that made them a big party.
Okay.
It contributed to.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't think this time it's going to contribute to it.
Okay.
Because a whole lot of young colored people also, they are totally against this narrative of the DA, the narrative of swart kefar. You know, you must be afraid of the black people and all that. They can actually see through the deceptive narrative of the DA. Yes. They can actually see. Up to now, they still hold the reins of power of white privilege. So I do not think they'll come out as the second governing party this time around. I really don't think so. No, I don't think so.
That is really interesting.
Yes,
Because I mean, like, you know, a lot of people are saying that now that you are speaking about the Western Cape, Patriotic Alliance is also, you know, winning a lot of support in terms of the colored community.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You look at what happened in the Karoo. I mean, you look at what's happening now, even in the Cape Flats. That Gayton McKenzie now is really campaigning very hard, even in Joburg.
Right. Yeah.
You look at El Dorado Park and all other areas where you've got colors. It almost like he positioned himself, or the PA, the Patriotic Alliance party, to serve what he refers to as the neglected kind of a race in South Africa, which according to him is the colored nation, or the colored communities.
Right. Yeah.
So understand the DA might have been winning, also based on the number of supporters that come from the colored community.
Yes, absolutely.
But now they're being diverted to the PA, while the other, on the other side we've got members of the ANC moving to the MK party and the EFF. So maybe we might see a different second largest party.
I don't think there will be the second largest party this time around. That's my thinking. I don't think
DA.
so. Yes, with the reasoning that I've given and what you've added on the top, I don't think there will be the second. And I think they're nervous about that themselves, because their their narrative doesn't hold water anymore. It's being challenged all the time. They don't want.
Yeah, I think worldwide also people are starting to just realize. I mean, on the previous segment you were also talking about the citizens of America challenging their own government.
Absolutely.
I think globally people are starting to really wake up and like to this narrative of serving what you refer to as the oligarchs.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So parties that will bring about greater numbers, greater change. I wouldn't know who will be number two or whatever. It's EFF and MK. I see coalitions after the results coming out from there. I see them going into coalitions, also including, I think ANC will be persuaded as well. I don't see why they shouldn't be persuaded, because if you look at the policies of the ANC when it comes to land and other public utilities, they're the same as the EFF and the MK. They might differ on timing of implementation, how to implement and all that, but I see them closing rank together. Yes, that's what I foresee. But I don't think, for instance, MK will be comfortable to have an alliance with the DA for
No way.
I don't see that.
Yeah,
happening.
that is
Absolutely.
really not happening.
I
That
don't
is
see-
definitely not happening.
Absolutely.
Last question, or last topic for this segment. Let's
Right.
talk about Cape Independence. I mean, we spoke about it on our lengthy episode last
Yeah,
time,
mhm.
but let's touch a little bit more on it, because it seems like it's a very serious thing that white people are actually investing in, and there's a conspiracy also around the townships in the Western Cape,
Mhm.
that the big guys that, of course, are the economy, according to Helen Zille,
Mhm.
are actually making sure that there isn't any development in the townships, because they want to make sure that they suppress everybody who is down there,
Mhm.
up until to an extent where they feel like they need to move.
Mhm.
Up until an extent where they feel like, you know what, because you know how it is. That's why a lot of people are coming to Joburg, because where they're coming from, opportunities are not there. So the more they feel oppressed, the more likely they're about to move. And when they move, then obviously that will give them a chance to be the majority in the province, and then of course move with their agenda. What is your view on Cape independence? Do you think the arrogance of white people to that extent?
Look, the question of Cape independence in terms of narrative formation and agenda setting, it has already happened in terms of agenda setting and narrative. It is there. To say it will take root and become very powerful and all that, there's a whole lot of follow-up that needs to be done for its gestation to take root and for that baby to be born. It's not going to be child's play. Right. So what am I saying? On one hand, I've said, in terms of a romantic narrative, it's there. They keep on talking about it.
Yeah.
But for it to take root and to go through gestation and the pregnant woman Cape to give birth to this independent Cape, there is no way it's going to happen without people paying in blood. Yes.
That's just how it's going to go down.
Yeah. People might take it very, very simply, but it has got very serious strategic implications. And I'm talking, number one, geopolitical implications. Exactly like what happened for instance, what happened in Syria, whereby the West tried to dethrone the government of Assad, and Russia went in there and said, you're not going to do that. Right now, what are we seeing in Burkina Faso? In Burkina Faso, we're seeing that there's American troops who've been asked to get out by President Traore, but at the same time, we have Russian troops who've who've already moved in there. So they can push the Western Cape independence narrative theoretically, but I would love to see them follow it up through. It's not going to be child's play.
It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be child's play unless they are prepared to spill blood for it, because I think that's where it will get through. Certain forces are going to react in a certain way. So far, I think it's just child's play, so to speak, that government can tolerate. Further than that, I do. There are certain powers in South Africa, and there are certain powers geopolitically that will not let it happen. I don't say it's not an easy thing to make to give birth to it. I don't think so. I don't think it's easy at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I'm fascinated by.
It's going to dislocate a whole lot of things. It's not going to be dislocating things in the Western Cape. It will have ramifications in all of South Africa, right? It will have ramifications to a lot of people who stay there, who are not only white, who are black South Africans. There's going to be serious ramifications. There's going to be ramifications in terms of balance of power. Remember, we even have a nuclear plant there.
Is that so?
Yes, we have a nuclear plant in the Western Cape for our electricity and all that. So it's not something that's going to be easy to be birthed, to be brought into reality very physically. So, So the people who are toying with this idea, they must know when the thing starts to hit the fan and there's a pushback, then certain people mustn't cry. It can cost a whole lot of people's lives. And I'm not just talking poor people, I'm talking even the rich people.
That's
the Western Cape thing must be handled very responsibly. Very responsibly. Yes, absolutely.
Let's close it up like this. I appreciate your insights. They're really, really, educational, especially to some young people who have registered to vote. They really need to know these things.
Absolutely.
So that when they cross on whatever political party they choose, they know who they are putting in government. They know who they are electing to become their leader.
But they must also don't forget they are the government.
100%,
this time around after elections,
yeah,
they must see that their policies are being implemented every day.
Yeah,
I'm talking to the young, educated South African black majority.
100%.
Yeah, it's not a question of just waiting, because you will wait, then you'll find your president is a billionaire, your president is being sponsored, this one is being sponsored, this one is being sponsored, and you got nothing, and you're still in the mkukus. The youngsters this time must make sure every cent that is being budgeted for, they look at it. Within the budget, they must make sure they draw up the priorities. If the government is telling them this is going to be the priority, they must tell National Treasury, no, we don't agree. This is going to be the priority. Education and health and this and that, these are going to be the priorities. If you don't do that, the South Africa we're going to have after elections will reflect the state of your political style and urgency and how you take yourselves seriously.
Dr. Malusi Mncube from University of Johannesburg, thank you so much.
Siyabonga, thank you very much. Bye, Danki.